The Canucks had an incredible run last year, finishing first in the division, third in the conference, 109 points. They were the team that almost brought Edmonton to the brink of destruction until the Panthers actually beat them in Game 7. But they both went to Game 7. Rick Tocchet had his team playing great offense, strong defense, added Jake DeBrusk and Danton Heinen from the Boston Bruins. They were able to sign Dakota Joshua before he went to market. Tyler Myers is back. Kiefer Sherwood, who played them against Nashville, is now on the team, and some other great contracts that we can jump into. Guys,
No, you left it off the list.
What?
The best signing of this offseason. Daniel Sprong.
Yeah, well, I want to get to Daniel Sprong. You want to start with Daniel Sprong?
Let's start with the best signing of the offseason.
Here's the thing. The reality of it, if you watch the Canucks through the Nashville series, is once you got past the first line, the third line was strong, the fourth line was strong. Pettersson didn't have anybody to play with.
I have the least notes for this team.
Why is that?
Just because they're so friggin' good.
They are going to be amazing.
And it's all offhand, right? Like, you don't have to dig with the Canucks. I'm going to say something, and then you're going to hear my pick later, and you're going to be like, what? That doesn't line up. But the Canucks goaltending situation right now is a little tumultuous because we don't know about the health of Thatcher Demko necessarily. Artur Silovs, hey, he's going to step into the backup role, and it doesn't sound like he is going to start the season either. This team is ridiculous, and if you pick them to win the President's Trophy, I don't think anyone should blame you.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. By the way, the rumor is that they're going to try DeBrusk with Pettersson first, see how that goes.
Oh, awesome.
And I want to say, by the way, Pettersson and Danton Heinen not only bring some good regular season scoring, but in 134 games combined in the playoffs, 60 points. Not bad for both of them. Obviously, you expect more.
Yeah, how many of those are against the Leafs? A
lot of people are picking DeBrusk to be the fantasy favorite this year of wingers that you can get in later rounds to explode with points. So I want to ask this. Obviously, you have Nikita Zadorov. It's like they traded them, right? DeBrusk and Heinen for Zadorov because Zadorov's now with Boston.
I get it.
We'll never forgive the Vancouver Canucks. In fact, Canucks fans and Canucks management, we hold you personally responsible for us having Zadorov on Boston. Thank you as Leaf fans.
Thanks for that.
What's your problem?
Yeah.
I look at this team and I go, this is vastly improved on a team that looked so good last year. Goaltending aside, because we don't fully know the health yet, hard to pick a weakness when a guy like Daniel Sprong, who had 43 points in 75 games, is making $975K.
Their D-core is good. It's not crazy deep. You know what I mean? Yeah. You got that top pair that you're going to rely on heavily. Your second pair is okay.
Forbort Desharnais is... I feel like they're going to improve on that throughout the year, right?
You'd hope so.
Desharnais is a guy who played 16 playoff games for the Edmonton Oilers.
He played in them.
He played.
He's a guy that
played.
Yeah.
He laced
I didn't say he was bad.
He contributed, and I imagine he can play a significant role on the Canucks too.
But again, the playoffs first of all, they're built to be like, hey, you're huge and beat the shit out of people, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, okay. Welcome aboard. Mm-hmm. So there's his strength. Regular season's 82 games. That's so many games. You need guys, and I just feel like they're a little thin in terms of depth, but when it comes to the Canucks, we're really nitpicking. They're so good.
I feel like what we're nitpicking here is they pick up Mark Giordano because they need an extra body and everything's fine now.
That kind of fits.
Something like that will solve whatever issues we think the Canucks have. But on the surface, the only issue they have is a healthy Thatcher Demko, and that's very concerning if it's a long-term injury that it's going to be nagging him for his career or at least this entire season. Who knows about that? That's the one thing I'm waiting on for more answers for how the Canucks seasons could go, because that could be really dangerous if Demko's out. But the Daniel Sprong pickup, I joke about that being the best sign in the offseason, but the only thing the Canucks were missing was depth on the forward group. And here you have a guy whose game I'm not a fan of because it's so one-dimensional. But it's one-dimensional and it works in this offense. He's just going to be on this Pettersson line. He won't worry about defense. He won't do it at all. He's not going to play the penalty kill. He might get some power play time because he's good at scoring, but he's going to sit next to Pettersson all day long, cheat up the ice, and try and score goals. And that's all they're missing, and that's all they need, and Daniel Sprong provides that. So he's going to be wonders on that line.
We're understating the Tocchet factor.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's the best coach in the league, but he's the best coach if you're a pain in the ass. And when we were talking about Daniel Sprong getting signed, we're like, why did it take so long? Why is he making under $1 million? And a bunch of people reached out and they're like, this player's a pain in the ass. And like beyond, he's just
there's a pain in the ass threshold you're willing to accept if a player is great.
Exactly.
Yes, and that's JT Miller. And JT Miller is great. This guy is Daniel Sprong is not JT Miller. He's a very useful offensive player and can be, but he's not like JT Miller can score you 90, 100 points, right? So this is an opportunity for the Canucks to have a player of this talent at this price. It's also an opportunity for Daniel Sprong, who should be making millions of dollars, to make millions of dollars, right? You could win a championship. That might be the cherry on top. But, dude, you do well here. You're going to be a millionaire for the rest of your life.
And only on the Canucks could Pettersson be a second-line center. Do you know what I'm saying?
It's stupid.
It's crazy. Now, I look at this lineup, and one of the things I remember from covering them for the first 2 rounds last year was Suter being too high up in the lineup. They've been able to, it looks like they're going to have Höglander, Miller, Besser, but they're gonna substitute Jake DeBrusk to see which line 1 or 2 he has the most with. The 4th line, because the 3rd line is Joshua Bluger, Garland, and they look great. Heinen, Suter, Kiefer Sherwood. I want to highlight Kiefer Sherwood because he was really, really good for the Nashville Predators against these Canucks. You have to think that was a job interview.
Oh,
right?
That's a great way of looking at it. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny how often that happens. Like, hey, we'll sign you just so we don't have to play against you.
That guy's a UFA? Oh, we should sign him.
Yeah. Come over here.
If there is any issues, and you guys kind of touched on it, it's going to be health. One of the things that we have to follow throughout this, and I'm going to quote Noah Strang, who is a Daily Hive writer for Vancouver. He said, Brock Besser is off blood thinners and resumed contact training. Remember, he's had blood clot issues. It will be a situation to monitor throughout the season. Forward says he's going to need to be careful on flights this year. He's going to wear compression gear, and also basically means, too, in a flight-heavy market like Vancouver, in the Western Conference, you're flying a lot, he's going to have to do that and worry about negotiating the deal, a contract. So you have to wonder if those things are going to weigh on him, but with an offense that deep, maybe not so much.
He's dealt with worse in his career. He's a great player. I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah, and Logan Roy taught us that compression socks are very important.
That's right.
So, yeah.
Very, very important. That's a good point. I don't think Steve has seen that show.
Nope.
Now, let's highlight Vinny Desharnais and Derek Forbort. We know what kind of player Forbort is. If you're an Edmonton Oilers fan or you're a Western hockey fan, you know Vinny Desharnais. I have to say, Darnell Nurse looked unplayable until the Edmonton Oilers said, fine, we'll put him with Desharnais. And all of a sudden, that became that was like a Twin Towers defense that had a pretty good little run in the West Final. And I look at the Vinny Desharnais and go, okay, if you could keep his minutes down, you know that Roenick and Hughes are going to eat 25 minutes a night each, right?
Regular season, you're going to need to depend on other guys. But yeah, they're going to play a lot.
As long as you don't put him in a position that you expose him, I think that is a valuable piece.
Have him kill penalties and beat the shit out of the other team.
Right?
I think Rick Tocchet can use that player. Yeah, it's no problem. Like, again, if that is your night 1 of the playoffs decor, you're going to be fine. What I am advising against, or not, like what I'm flagging, is you so rarely start the playoffs with the 6 that you want to go into it with, and you never end with those 6.
No.
It's what is it over the last 15 years? Like the Kings and that's it?
Yeah. Yeah.
When the Canucks went to the final in 2011, we bring this up all the time, but they used 13 guys. It's
what
tough.
happens.
It's tough out there, man.
I look at the penalty kill. I look at the power play. It all looks extremely dangerous, and I think their biggest competitor in this division is going to be the Edmonton Oilers, who finished like a point behind them last year.
Yep.
Forgetting that Edmonton had a terrible start. What do you do if you're the Vancouver Canucks and you know that's the team that defeated you? That's the team that almost caught you for the division lead. How do you play the Oilers different this year? Because I think it's these 2 teams for the top of the division.
Oh, man. Like,
are you rock'em sock'em robots? Are you trying to out-finesse Connor McDavid? It's a difficult discussion.
I think you just do it again. Like, you might win Game 7 if you have Brock Besser. You know? And that team... I think the parallels between this year's Canucks and last year's Oilers are very interesting. Last year's Oilers, the year before, had to go up against Vegas And you're like, you know what? We didn't beat them, but we were the closest to beating them. And you saw in their words and in their attitude, they're like, nothing is acceptable but the Stanley Cup. And the Oilers got right there. They were right there. And I could see the Vancouver Canucks being this year's version of that.
Okay.
Like, I think they're going into the season not, well, we'll see how things go. I think they expect to win the Stanley Cup. Expect. Not, oh, yeah, we got a good shot. No, they expect to win it.
That's pretty crazy after a decade in the wilderness to it
was a long time.
Second round, and then we expect to win the Cup. Jesse, anything to add?
Yeah, I think the determining factor against the Oilers and the Canucks in like the regular season, how it's going to play out is it's not necessarily that like Chris Knobloch's not a hard-nosed coach. He's not going to have them playing well. But I think Rick Tocchet, what he established at the end of his first run as head coach when he brought in as interim head coach and then all last season is that there's a consistency with the Canucks at their compete level and there's their determination to win games all season long that is not necessarily going to be on the Edmonton Oilers, who really have nothing to prove in the regular season, and they're just coming off the deepest you can get in the playoffs, Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, and you go into a shorter off season, a long regular season. They're not necessarily fighting as much as the Canucks are, who are always kind of at this 10 out of 10 level because of how Rick Tocchet has them all playing. And like the evolution of JT Miller over the last couple of years from yelling at his own players and smashing sticks to now just being this star player.
And
like,
leader.
A leader, that's a testament to the coaching staff. So I'm leaning Canucks heavy to win this division just because of that.
Well, I'll start you with that. Okay, so you say Canucks win the division. That would mean that the over-under for their points is crazy. It's 99.5. I think you smash over on that. That's,
oh my God.
That's
over.
the BetMGM. That's an easy over.
That's an easy bet.
So remember, last year they finished with 109. Guys, Jesse, where do you say they finished in points, just for fun? They had 110 last year. Sorry, 109 last year.
109 last year. So let's go 107. No, because they'll still win 107. I think.
You think they're going to win the division?
Yeah, 107. They win the division. I think you can win that little points over first place.
I'm struggling so hard with my pick here. I have 2 written down in the division just because Edmonton is there. Edmonton just went to the final. Edmonton has nothing to prove. Jesse, it's such a good point. The only reason I wouldn't give the Canucks the division and maybe even the President's Trophy is the goalie thing. It's such a difficult thing to overcome. I'm not going to change my pick. I'll put them number 2. But if they win the division or even the President's Trophy, I wouldn't be shocked.
I think, personally, obviously, I'm picking the over. I think they're going to have 110 points, and I think they're going to finish second in the division. And I think the goaltending health issues are the reason I'm holding back. The other thing I want to say is that, remember, Edmonton had such a good season as of December 1st.
They were horrible.
They were horrible, and they almost caught the Canucks. A couple more games than they would have. And so my point in this is saying Edmonton is so good that we're looking at probably a Canucks second in the division. Don't be surprised, though, if they make it all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals. I think they are a spectacular hockey team.
That makes me feel a little better about my pick, knowing that I'm on an island all alone.